good morning. Welcome. Thank you for coming today. I guess you already know Alexa. How many people in the room know Alexa? Okay, perfect. How many know Luca and Stefano? No, that is us. I am Luca Relandini from Cisco, Solution Architect.
My name is Stefano Gioia from Cisco, Technical Solution Architect.
So today we are going to show the integration of Alexa with the API exposed by some Cisco products, software products that we use for orchestration and integration with the public cloud and actually also private cloud. We will create sample skills in Alexa that are very appealing because you can deploy a database, a web server, a complex application everywhere in every cloud through our products. And Alexa, it is just one client calling the API that is useful for doing demonstration. So we like to do that because it's appealing, it is not heavy technical, and we can demonstrate the value of the API exposed by the product. Of course, to create a skill, you need some basic technologies like REST and JSON to call the API we expose. So we assume you already know those technologies. We will just give you a very, very short recap about that. We will show what are the features in the products we want to integrate. We will explain what kind of API we expose and where you can find them. And of course, Stefano will show how the Alexa skill is built, integrated, and executed. So it's a live demonstration. Those are the use cases that we are going to show today. So a REST call, of course, is made of different parts. You are very familiar with that, so I will not spend a lot of time with that. The important part is the resource part, so the green highlighted in this picture. You show the target you want to manipulate with the call. So could be a collection of resources or one specific resource that you can modify. So you can manage the entire life cycle of objects inside the target system with the post, put, delete, and all the verbs in HTTP. So as I said, you can address and execute actions on a number of objects all together. They are called a collection, or one specific element, the element ID. So this is an example of calling the API. You can do that even via the browser because it's a HTTP GET. So you can do that from the browser or the command line or using Postman, which is the most common tool used to create and test remote API, or of course develop your own application or any kind of front end that will use the API exposed by the backend products. So in this case, we are calling tenants, which is a list of objects. You get a collection back. So all the tenants with their attributes. If you specify a single object ID, you will get the information about only that single object. And similarly for the post verbs or put that are used to modify the resources. So you can send information through the JSON payload to the API and make the system interact with the object model. So generally a REST call is, as I said, an HTTP call, might be a GET or POST or also the other verbs, and contains a reference to the target object and some HTTP headers that are used to transport non-functional information. The response contains header and generally the JSON payload that tells you the result of the actions you have done. So after this very short introduction to the general behavior of API, now I will introduce you a couple of products from the Cisco software portfolio. So Stefan and I work in the orchestration area of the Cisco technology, and we have a number of software products. The two most relevant in terms of application lifecycle are called the Cloud Center Suite and the Cisco Workload Optimization Manager. The first one is used to deploy software stacks that can be complex at will. So can be a single virtual machine, single container running a piece of software, can be a complex combination of virtual machines and or containers all together, and you can deploy them in your private cloud or in any of the public cloud. The beauty of this product is that you create an automation model just once. We call that application profile. And after you do that, the product can translate a single model into the right API calls to the target cloud that you select at deployment time. So you don't need to create a blueprint for Amazon, one for Azure, one for Google, or VMware, or OpenStack on-premise. You create a single blueprint. It is placed in a repository and in a self-service catalog. And users can go to the catalog, select the stack they want to deploy, maybe a database, maybe a complex application, and say, I want it in Amazon, I want it on VMware locally, I want it on OpenStack. And it will translate the model into the right calls that need to be done on that target. Another module in the product is called Cost Optimizer, and that is able to read from the API of every cloud the consumption of resources and services that you are doing, so that you can have a single dashboard where you have all costs in control. You have the projection at the end of the month. You can understand how much you are spending in all the cloud services you are consuming. Everything you do in the public cloud is read through the API. So even services or resources that you have provisioned or consumed, not using Cloud Center, but going directly into the cloud dashboard provided by the cloud provider, is measured and billed. So you have full visibility, and that is very useful in some organizations where there are a lot of people using clouds, and of course, expenses can go out of control. And then we have the action orchestrator, which is a workflow manager, so you can create automated processes that execute automatically a sequence of steps. So all these features are generally consumed through a portal, but of course we have the integration with CI/CD tools, so a Jenkins plugin that can drive Cloud Center and do all the things that you would do manually. We can integrate that with ServiceNow and other ITSM solutions, and of course you can create your own script, your own Python script from the command line, any kind of application, or an Alexa skill that does the same job. So we will have Alexa deploying software in the cloud thanks to the integration with this API. The second product, CWOM, the Cisco Workload Optimization Manager, is used to optimize the usage and the consumption of your infrastructure. So if you have a data center or you have a cluster of servers providing resources for your applications, or you consume resources from the public cloud, of course, you want to use them in the most effective manner possible. So it will give you suggestions about moving virtual machines or containers from one place to another one, resizing, making them bigger or smaller according to the usage that is measured by the tool. And those actions can be simply suggested to you so that you evaluate and eventually operate according to the suggestion, or can be automatically executed by the system that will use the API exposed by vCenter or the different clouds to optimize the system according to the intelligent suggestion that is trying to give. So we will demonstrate how all those features can be consumed by Alexa in the skills that Stefano will show to you. So as I said, the workload manager is the core feature of the Cloud Center suite. It is the engine where you create the blueprints. We call the blueprint an application profile. So that is a single model for the deployment and lifecycle management of an application that will live as a configuration entity in the repository of the system and will be exposed in the self-service catalog and through the API. When you go and order the deployment of that stuff, a translator will translate that single model into calls to the API exposed by the target that you have selected at that time. Of course, the advantage is you do less work instead of duplicating or triplicating the models for every target cloud that you want to build. You do that only once. And maintenance, because of course, if you have different models and after 6 months you want to modify the way you deploy SharePoint or an Oracle cluster. You have to modify 3 models, and you have to maintain consistency. So there is the possibility of errors or inconsistency across the different models. Having one single model, consistency is there by default. The second is the cost optimizer. I have already said that it is able to read from the cloud API everything you do there. So it will measure how much you are spending today, will project that at the end of the month, will give you very important indication of what is the project, what is the application, or the tenant, according to how large is your organization, that is spending more or spending too much. You can give different projects budget so that they are constrained. They will not spend more than it has been defined initially. And of course, it will also give you a very granular visibility of the services you are consuming, including serverless with Lambda or any kind of cloud-specific service like the load balancers or the IP addresses that Amazon is building individually. And of course, similarly for all the other clouds. The workload optimization manager, as I said, is used to optimize the performances of the applications you have deployed and optimize the consumption of the resources so that you don't waste capacity. If you have too much, it will suggest to reduce it. You can also shut down some servers eventually to save money. That means licenses or cooling or power and so on. Or if you need more to run the application faster and better, it will suggest, of course, to scale out the system. As I said, it can simply suggest you to do those actions or can execute them automatically through the integration with the infrastructure. So those are 2 very powerful products. And of course, our goal is to make you aware that they exist and you could eventually use them. Using Alexa is a very nice kind of demonstrating how they do the work. So we will go in the rest of the session through the implementation of the Alexa skill. Stefano will explain what is the architecture and what is the way of creating the skills, and will demonstrate how actually he has integrated it with the products that I've mentioned. So this is a screen from the Cisco Workload Optimization Manager. On the left side, you see the entire stack, starting from a business application. That means the software product that you have built. Could be a custom application, could be something you have bought and you are running. So there is a dependency across the different tiers, and the colors that are shown and the numbers means the health state of that tier or that component in your architecture, and the number of suggestions that the product is giving you to improve the behavior. That means performances and efficiency and compliance with your general rules. So you see on the right side some actions that should be executed to optimize the system. And of course, the number of actions that he has suggested in time. You can drill down. The product is much richer than you see here, but of course, we don't have time to go in a deeper detail. Just want to give you the impression of what the product is able to do. So in the Cloud Center suite, the different modules that I've mentioned offer their own API. So they are documented. We will give you the slides, of course, but if you search for the Cloud Center documentation online, you will find all the detailed description and samples about the usage of the API. You see the structure corresponding to the initial slide that I've shown about the HTTP call referencing a collection of objects or one single target. And similarly for the Cisco Workload Optimization Manager, you have different entry points for the different features you want to use. And you have a Swagger interface that will help you to understand how the API are structured and also to test them directly from the web interface. So it is very easy to approach. Of course, the API requires credential to execute the action. So they can be user and password or use a secret API key that you download from the product itself. So you will place that in the call. This is an example of calling the API from a command line. So curl is a tool in Linux that will make a HTTP call for you, and you put all the input parameters on the command line. But of course, the general schema can be used with Postman or even eventually in the browser, if you like, in the URL of the browser. So Alexa, of course, most of you already know that. Maybe you have already developed some skill, but it is the voice assistant from Amazon. Now there are many others from other vendors.
Just a question. How many of you have created an Alexa skill? Okay.
So you interact with Alexa through voice commands. It is able to understand your intention, that actually is called the intent. So the speech recognition, which is a very powerful function in the Alexa system, will understand keywords in your phrases and will send the call for the execution to a backend engine. Generally, it is serverless, running in Lambda. So you have to build your business logic in Lambda using one of the languages that are supported. After processing, the result is sent back to Alexa and read to you. So it is a verbal response that corresponds to the outcome of the call made to Lambda. You can also have a specialized device for Alexa that is not just the Echo Dot that probably is familiar for every one of you that only speaks, but there are also Alexa with screens, so you can see the outcome in a visual format. So it is pretty easy. You have to understand the way to create the skills, and then the integration with the API is simply done in Node.js or any other languages in the back. So those are the steps. Of course, you have to design the interaction. You have to understand what kind of commands Alexa will recognize and what is the result of the different commands you give. There is a developer interface in the cloud, very easy to consume. So there is a developer console in the Amazon website, developer.amazon.com. You can create a free account and create the skills. So you test it in your computer or in your phone, and then if you want to publish that as a real Alexa skill accessible to everyone, you have to do the certification to be compliant with the Amazon policies. So I will leave Stefano complete the explanation of the skill.
Give it the power.
Yeah, I will give you the power.
So yeah, I actually love playing with Alexa. So the intent in Cisco is just to show how sexy is commanding Cisco products or any other product with an Alexa skill in demonstration purpose. So the key point in interacting with Alexa is, number one, you have to define the request that the skill will handle. Okay. Number two, you have to define what we call the invocation name. If you have a play with an Alexa, you will say, hey Alexa, open, I don't know, my magic mirror. Open another product. That is the invocation names that will identify your skill. Then you have to define the utterance and the slots. We will see what is an utterance and what is a slots. And finally, write the call to fulfill the request. Sounds very complicated, isn't it? But at the end of the day, it's not so complicated. So Alexa is the wake word that we are going to use when you want to start our interaction with Alexa. It might be Alexa, Amazon, or any other words. The launch word will be tell, open, or ask. So very easy to start interaction with your skill. The invocation name is the name of your skill. So I have 2 kids, and I used to play with Alexa with them. So I have created a very basic skills named My Magic Mirror that is basically answer to who is the fairest of the realm. And my invocation name will be My Magic Screen. So after I specify the invocation name, that will be the intent, the utterance. So I need the vacations, who is the ugly guys in the world, or many other things.
Why do you look at me?
Because you are just the only one on the stage, so I don't want to. And then we have the slot value. The slot value are parameters that we pass to Alexa to identify what we really want to do. So in that specific case, for example, this is the date. For our case, that will be an actions that I want to specify with Alexa, like for example, deploy a database. Alexa will ask me which database, and the slot will be, for example, MySQL database or Postgres SQL database. So the interaction is very simple. All we have to do is to write the backend code to interact with any other services that you want to do, whether services or IMDb services. But in this specific case, we are going to talk with Cisco products. The most important thing is to understand how we interact with Alexa, because most of the time, 99% of the time, we are going to interact with Alexa using voice. And it's very important to define the situation where we are. So we want to have skills that, for example, the very first time ask, who am I? For example, in order to store and save my name. So the next time I will invoke the Alexa skill, she knows already who am I, and perhaps I already set some information. So the Alexa suggestion is to use situational skill, in which you define, for example, the utterance, the situation, enter for the first time in the skill, provide welcomes and first prompt, and then specify all the interaction. It's a very easy way to that will really help you to develop a skill. Now let's move and create our first skill. So first of all, I'm going to log into the Alexa developer console. You can do it. It's free of charge. Let me try to reload just in case the session is not working.
Can I do the same from the phone?
Yes, you can do the same from the phone. So those are all my skills that I have created. So some of them are private, some of them are public. The nice things about creating Alexa skill, you can create it and test it using your own devices. I don't know if you have any Alexa skill, but you just can create a private skill and play together with the Echo device or a Fire TV devices. Today, we are going to concentrate on the Cisco Butler. Cisco Butler is just a majordomo that will help you to achieve some of the activities. So this is the way that I'm going to design the skill. We have a menu here. So this menu specifies, for example, the invocation name that we have seen before, and the intent, what I would like to do. Inside the intent, we can specify keywords that will be recognized to identify the right intent, or we can specify some slots. And of course, Alexa gives us for free 4 different type of intents in order to cancel, to help, stop, or navigate to a different side of my skill. So let's have a look. First of all, we call my skill Cisco Butler. What will be the invocation name? That is the invocation name. So every time I want to talk with Alexa and with my skill, I have to say, Alexa, open Cisco Butler, or Alexa, ask Cisco Butler to do something. I can write anything here. For the purpose of this call, that will be the Cisco Butler. Then let's start with a very first intent, tenants. I would like to connect to my Cloud Center suite and ask a list of all available tenants into the systems. So I just create a tenant intent and I specify the utterance, which means when I say give me the list, or when I say list all my tenants, then Alexa recognize that there is an intent, which is called tenant info intent, and it's going to execute the code inside the handler. Looks very complicated, but at the end of the day, it's very easy. So let's go to the code. Let's open a new tab. Now, this is very small, don't worry about that. So this is basically my code. This is the initial request. You always need to have this type of stuff because this will handle the first interaction of the skill. In that specific case, when I launch the request, then Alexa will speak the following. Welcome, I'm your Cisco Butler, and we can say, for example, sorry. We can change the text and say, welcome to Codemotion 2019, okay? We can deploy, and then we can test our applications in a very easy way. So the first one will be the tenant. We have an utterance that will basically execute here. So when we ask one of the questions that one of the utterances that I specified before, I'm going to execute this code. This code recognizes that I'm actually requesting the tenant info intent, and then I start building my request and response. What I'm going to do, I simply do an HTTP GET. So I will basically log, I will specify the response. Here is the list of tenants that Alexa will play to me, and then I will make an asynchronous call passing some variables like the URL, the API path, the username and a password that I have defined in a different file. And then if everything goes as expected, I will get a JSON object, an array, and I will get simply a list of the length of this array, and then I will speak to Alexa. So you have, for example, tenants lengths, tenants. So let's know how it's working. So let's go here to test, because I can test from here, and I hope you can listen. So I can say open Cisco Butler.
Welcome. I am your Cisco butler.
Can you just confirm
Welcome
that
to
you're listening?
Codemotion 2019.
Perfect. Now I'm going to say, for example, one of those. List all my tenants. I go there and say, list all my tenants. Now a request is gone to the Cloud
Here
Center
is what I got
suite,
back from my
and I
request.
got the response.
You have 2
Very
tenants.
easy. So if you go here, I can see the logs, and inside the logs, I can see the type of call that I've made to Cloud Center Suite, and have a look at the type of response that I get. So this is the call I get, and this is the response I get. So I don't care about the tenant name or any other information. I just get from the JSON file what I want to know. Very easy. Now, the funny thing is that I also can use my Alexa here. This is a very nice way to demonstrate the power of Alexa. So what I can do here, if everything will work as expected, I just open my Alexa applications, and again say, Alexa, open Cisco Butler.
Welcome. I am your Cisco butler. Welcome to Codemotion 2019.
Give me the list of tenants.
Okay, here is what I got back from my request. You have 2 tenants.
Very easy. So the point is that when you want to demonstrate the capability of any products, this is Cisco.
Ask me to list all my
Sorry,
action
stop,
point.
Alexa. Sometimes it's boring. It's very easy to demonstrate how you can consume API and how you can make posts in front of a customer. So another really nice example is, for example, I want to know how much I spent in a public cloud. So I connect to the Cloud Center Suite. I just go to my tenants, and I know that I go to the cost optimizer, and I'm actually spending in AWS, let me see how much is, roughly $160. I can do the same with Alexa. So what I'm going to do is simply specify the cost report intent. Those are the utterance. Tell me how much I spent. And then in my code, I'm going here, select, for example, the cost report intent. Action intent, cost report intent. It's very, sorry, sometimes it's hard to pinch. Okay, never mind. Again, it's the same. Just identify the request, then ask to Cloud Center Suite to get the response passing the same variable, and then I will look through the response, specify, for example, the currency and the cost and the cloud family. So I can go here again to test, open a link to that, and again open Cisco Butler, and say,
Welcome. I am your Cisco butler.
Tell
Welcome
me
to Codemotion
how
2019.
much money,
No, how much I spent?
how much I spent.
Here is how much you've spent. 133 USD with Amazon.
Very easy. So imagine the situation: I just arrived at my office and I have to open Cloud Center or any other products. Would it be much more easy just to say, Alexa, hey, how much I spent? Give me. Or, for example, deploy a database to a public cloud. This is something that we can do again with our intent. This time will be a little bit different because we have to specify a couple of things in order to make sure that we are going to deploy the database. So I just created a new intent, like deploy a database to the clouds, and you can see that there is some nice color here. This nice color represents me the type of database that I want to deploy and the type of clouds which I want to deploy the database. Those represent as slots, a parameter that I'm going to use to make those kind of deployments. So I will allow to delegate Alexa to handle all the required code to manage these slots. All I have to specify is, for example, the type of slots and the database. So in the type of slots, I just created a slot here, and you can see that I specify a couple of values, pSQL or MySQL, and there are also some synonyms that I can use, like Postgres, SQL. So I can use also synonyms to represent what I would like to deploy. And then I'm going to use the ID, SQL or MySQL, in case I want to use this ID in order to make sure that the customer is going to deploy the right database. Yes, and then, thank you, Luca, I map, here it's very easy because Alexa will immediately tell me where this slot is actually using, by which intent, and that is the database deploy intent. Then we can go here, and then I say, since this is a required slot to fulfill the intent, if I don't fill the intent, if I say, Alexa, deploy a database, Alexa should ask me more information. I don't want to write the code, so Alexa will write the code for me, and what I have to do is just specify what Alexa will prompt to me, like, where do you want to deploy? Or which cloud you want to deploy. And then I can specify, I can answer like into AWS, into GCP, into cloud, for example. The same for the database, right? So I can go to the database here again, and I can specify DB type. Do you want MySQL or Postgres? MySQL or PSQL? I can deploy MySQL or pSQL. Which one do you want? And then I can reply with this very same time. Now the question is, how can I get this information? I can get it in my code here by requesting the slot name, and then I go to the Alexa developer console, and I can say deploy a database. I don't know what. So open cloud, open Cisco Butler.
Sorry, I don't know that.
I should reopen that, not a problem. It's closing the session. So test. Open Cisco Butler.
Welcome. I am your Cisco
Deploy
butler.
Database.
Welcome to Codemotion 2019. On which cloud?
Which cloud? GCP, for example, or Amazon, AWS.
MySQL of PSQL.
MySQL. And then we are going to make a post to Cloud Center
Okay,
to deploy a database.
your MySQL
into
database
the,
is deploying in
AWS. And we can
AWS.
see here that we are actually trying to deploy a database in AWS. We go into deployments. We will see MySQL database is actually deploying right now. So this is a very basic skills. There are more things that we can do. For example, we can try to integrate Alexa Echo Video to provide also some video response.
Alexa,
this is just another example of a
Cloud
skill.
Center Suite.
Welcome to Cloud Center Suite skill.
Show me the money.
So far, you have spent $408 and 51 cents with
Very
VMware.
easy.
5,200.
It's not rocket science, but it's a nice way to use Alexa skill to command any software, as long as the API are exposed correctly by the end user, by the software that you want to command. So we are running out of time. I guess we have only a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Is there any questions, comments? Yeah, please. Now, well, not really. Yeah, just for development. It can.
The first not working.
Yes, but people
Okay. Sorry.
hear from the
Okay.
headphone.
I mean, the first time you, of course, link your account with the skill. At the end,
You have to go
How-
through the certification process.
yeah, but I mean,
You mean
Right.
the security between the skill calling the third-party software?
now what I mean if when the app is deployed,
Mhm.
then you have your skill on your phone or your device,
Yes.
so anyone can ask
For
about
anyone
your
can
private
ask.
information. I mean, at home, in the office, maybe would be nice to have a middleware where there is another step, like to guess to understand who is talking.
Yes, I mean, this is a very basic skill.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
what
just-
you have to do, there is a provisioning part. So the very first time that you develop a skill like that, you have to ask a couple of questions like what is the endpoint, username and password, or you can, for example, send an email to another business services created by you, and that business service will do the provisioning for you, which is very simple. This is a very basic skills, but there is a lot of things that you can do it. The funny thing is that you concentrate only on the codes that will do the job for you, while the other is just handled by Alexa. So another problems that we have, for example, is the fact that I have to typically I have Alexa should manage the certifications. In that specific case, I said avoid the certification check because I did not implement any securities. But there is a many different ways to implement those type of securities.
Thank you.
As I said, it's a very basic skill, just for fun.
By the
Does that
way,
answer? Please.
I take the chance to mention our community because in Cisco Italy we are creating a user group for people that is interested in this kind of software products. So we meet at Cisco offices in the evening from 5 to 8 p.m. every 3 weeks, giving our friends a number of sessions. So generally in 3 hours we do 3 45 minutes sessions about Cisco software products, open source technologies, and some hands-on activity. And we also offer some pizza and beer to participants. So if you are interested in that, you will find us in the DevNet website. Look for multi-cloud user group in Italy, and you can register for free, of course, and join us.
And last things, so inside the slides, the PDF that you can download, there will be a link to the GitHub repository where there is a skill that you can use, download, clone, modify, whatever. It's meant to be used for command anything. So just making an HTTP guest and post, and feel free to use it and enjoy with the skill. Enough? Stop? Okay.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.